Hello, and welcome to the Essential, Exceptional, and Ethical Leadership Program, Finding Your Impact Zone, the place where you're going to make a difference. I'm Marv Russell. I'm an author, global consultant, leadership coach, and I spent over 25 years doing work with leaders around the world. My job is to try to help you make a difference in your life, help you find the impact zone, the place where you're going to make a difference. During this course, I'm going to challenge you in many different ways. You're going to learn a lot of tools and techniques, ways of handling the tough issues. I'm going to give you a lot of free resources. And I'm also going to do some pretty tough coaching. We're going to tell it like it is. The other great thing about this program is my Facebook forum, a private space where you and other people who are a part of this program and other great leaders can network and exchange information and ideas, where you can ask the tough questions. So sit back and get ready. Let's find your impact zone, the place where you're going to make a difference. So this course is about leadership. What is leadership? You can go on the internet and you're going to find so many different types of definitions that will drive you crazy. Some will be philosophical. Some of them will even sound scientific. Some of them will be basic operations. But there will be a number of different types of ways to describe leadership. In this course, we're going to have a special definition. Let's take a look at it right now. So what is leadership? For me, it's something very, very specific. Leadership is a series of abilities that we have. A series of abilities to accomplish things. More specifically, it's the ability to guide, to give direction to people, the ability to influence outcomes and the way people think and mold them and shape their direction. It's the ability to influence outcomes, to make things happen. It's the ability to advise, and it's the ability to drive direction. The bottom line is, leadership is simple. It's a series of abilities that people have that make a difference. It's the way they find the impact zone, the abilities to change the things around them. So now that we have a working definition for leadership, I think there's a greater question that really has to be addressed. And that question is, should not leadership become a sustainable organizational and functional product? In other words, is leadership something that every organization should aspire to create? It should be a part of their fabric. Yes, they may make certain products, they may provide certain services, but one of the things they have to do is create leaders, because it takes leaders to take an organization where it needs to be. Yes, leadership is a series of abilities, but to discover those abilities, it has to come from the lessons of experience. And the lessons of experience come from organizational work. And when that organizational work is done, we are creating leadership as a sustainable product. One of the things we have to understand is that organizations fail when we cannot sustain a continuous impact on the world around us. We have to find the impact zone. A continuous way to change, adapt, and move the organization forward. Now, the great challenge I'm going to give you is, how does the organization, how do you as an individual find the impact zone, the place where you can sustain the greatest impact on the world around you? But we have to realize there is a really serious and large challenge that we have in our leadership development. A challenge, a concern, something that really can make the difference. And that comes down to this: when my mind and when my ideas, when my ways of thinking as a leader are not flexible, are not able to expand and grow, when my mind and my ideas are fixed, do we become blind? Do we become blind to the things that are in front of us and the things that we need to see, the things that we need to do? the things we need to allow us to grow and become better. So do we become blind as leaders? Yes, we do. I call this the great scotoma. The great blindness of leaders, their inability to see what's right in front of their face. It's kind of like a cataract over your eye. It's a haze. And sometimes you're so busy doing you just can't see. We have to overcome our scotoma. Leaders have to be able to see the full field of view. They have to understand what's in front of them. They have to be able to see the future and also reflect on the past. They have to remove their scotoma. They have to remove their blind spot. You know, I'm looking at these 6 dots, patterns of dots here. I can only see 2 of them. Our blindness is natural. That leadership blindness we have is a natural phenomenon. You've got to deal with it. You've got to deal with it each and every day. So there's 5 points of leadership blindness that I think are important for us to really discuss and really understand. First, the inability to vision and to see the future. We have so many things on our shoulders that we don't take the time to see what's out there in the future and allow ourselves a path forward. Our next scotoma is the inability to inspire. The inability to inspire the people around us and also bring them into our vision and have them be able to see where we're going. The thought is they can have their own scotoma as well. Point 3, the inability to value the diverse contributions of others. We've got to understand that our world is changing and there are dynamic talents all around us, and we have to tap into those talents. I do a lot of work with diversity and inclusion. It's easy to hire a diverse workforce. It's much more difficult to make sure that their contributions and their talents and gifts are included in the value proposition of the organization. The inability to value the diverse contributions of others is a great scotoma. 4, the inability to see ourselves as others see us. Sometimes it's tough looking in the mirror when you're a leader. You got to see yourself the way other people see you. You may think you're the nicest person in the world and that you're doing a great job, but when that 360-degree feedback comes back, all of a sudden, once again, a scotoma is lifted. You're able to see yourself the way other people see you. And number 5, inability to create and innovate. You have to be able to change your paradigm. You have to be able to change what you're doing, how you see the world, and the pathway forward. You have to be able to allow yourself and your organization to create and innovate what's going to happen in the future. You got to allow that to flow and not be afraid of it. So when I look at those leadership scotoma that we all have, those things that inhibit our ability to be what we need to be, the first thing I think about is that our scotoma inhibit us from being essential, exceptional, and ethical leaders. The blind spots inhibit us from understanding what essential is. They inhibit us in understanding what exceptional performance is. And it certainly can inhibit us in dealing with the ethical issues that organizations have and that we have as individuals. Remove your scotoma to become an essential, exceptional, and ethical leader. You know, another problem that you have with your scotoma is that it doesn't allow you the ability not to be arrogant in your role of authority. Arrogance is a great problem in leaders today. We think we know it all. We think we have all the answers. We think we can solve all the problems of the organization. It takes a team. And when you're arrogant, your team sees your arrogance. But when you're truly a team player and you're willing to see your frailties, your team is going to be behind you. The scotoma will be lifted. And in the final analysis, when we look at these great challenges that we face In terms of scotoma, we have to be looking at the ability to sustain the appropriate impact on the organization. When you're blind, when your scotoma is in its full force, you don't have the right impact. You have to have the ability to inspire, motivate, and drive the organization. This is the place where you find the impact zone, the place where you're going to make a difference. Your scotoma inhibit you from finding the impact zone. You know, my book, Linebacker in the Boardroom, Lessons in Life and Leadership, is all about how we develop as leaders, no matter what our role in life is. And there's a key point that I made in this book that I want to bring out to you. Leadership, we have to understand. We have to understand that leadership must be our moral belief that as individuals, we must behave ethically, be accountable for our actions, be conscious of our decisions, and our ability to discern the impact that those decisions have on others in the environment that we serve each day. I think that's an important statement, folks, because what we're going to have to learn in this course is about ourselves as leaders and our moral belief and how far we are willing to dig down and be accountable for our actions, remove our scotoma, and be conscious of the decisions and discern the impact that those decisions are going to have on people around us each and every day. So let's talk about what is great leadership. We've talked a lot about the definition of leadership so far, but let's go to another level. What's great leadership? What I call great leadership is 3E leadership: essential, exceptional, and ethical leadership. There's great meaning behind each of these three words, and we're going to explore those in detail now. But what I want you to get in mind is that essential, exceptional, and ethical leadership is the place where we are able to sustain our impact on others in the organization and the world around us. So first, let's look at essential leadership. What is this? Essential leadership is when people look at us as relevant, necessary, relevant and knowledgeable about today and the things that have to be done now for us to be successful. We are in demand. When people look at you, when people look at your position, they consider you to be relevant and necessary to the things they're going to have to do, to how they're going to support you. You are relevant. You are essential. Part two of the equation is exceptional leadership. What is exceptional? It's performance and commitment. But it's not just the basic performance, and it's not just the basic commitment. It sets a new standard. It sets a new level. Everybody else works at one level, but you are accelerated. And so when people look at you, yes, you're essential to this organization, but you perform at an exceptional level. You go over and above the call of duty. You care, and you hold yourself and others accountable, and you're willing to adapt and change when the organization needs it, when the people need it. First, you are essential, and then you are exceptional. Let's move on to the next one, and perhaps maybe the most important one, ethical. Yes, ethical. Ethics really matter. Could there be anything more important in society today, in business today? How many times do we find people who fall from grace in the public's eye because of the ethics? Because of their inability to have the right moral character? Ethical leadership is rather simple. You're going to model the right behavior. Integrity and trust matter. You care about people. You care about the way you treat people. And you hold the organization, and you hold yourself accountable. There's no in between. Ethics is not about the law. And it's not just simply about rules and regulations. Ethics is about what is right. The difference is what is right and what is wrong. Ethics matter. You got to model the right behavior. You got to have integrity and trust. You got to care about people, and you got to hold yourself and the organization accountable for your behavior. So when you pull the three together, we have 3E leadership, and it's a practical philosophy. 3E leadership, remember, essential, exceptional, and ethical leadership is what drives performance sustainability. It is these three things in combination that makes the difference. It is these three things in combination that allows you to find the impact zone, the place where you are going to make a difference. Now we're going to talk briefly about the 5 characteristics of essential, exceptional, and ethical leaders. So now let's talk about the 5 key, what I'll call sustainable leadership behaviors that really support 3E leadership. And they also do something else. They also drive diversity and inclusion. And we're going to be talking more about this later on, but this is very, very important because we're not talking about diversity and inclusion in the traditional sense. We're talking about a very diverse organization of various knowledge, skills, and abilities and talents, as well as the ability to make sure all that talent is included and inclusive in the organization. The first factor, integrity and trust. It goes back to the 3E leadership model. It goes back to the ethics, but you cannot be successful without integrity and trust. Number 2, humility and approachability. Leaders have to be humble, and you have to be approachable. You have to be willing to accept feedback yourself and willing to listen to others. 3, engagement, empowerment, and inspiring. Those 3 things really matter to the people of the organization. They want to be engaged, they want to be empowered, they want to be inspired, and that's your job as a 3E leader. 4th, you got to be a relentless communicator. A good friend of mine said, you got to communicate until it hurts. Now, communication isn't just talking, because leaders can do that pretty well. It also means listening. And it also means, more importantly, demonstrating that you heard. Communicate until it hurts. And 5th, there's this thing called courage. Leadership courage, the strength of your conviction. As much as you have to lead and drive the organization, those things are important, but you got to have the courage to make tough decisions. When all that information comes together, when the organization's been heard, when your teammates have given you input, and the bottom line, decisions start with you and they end with you. You got to have leadership courage, the strength of your convictions. So we've covered a lot of things in this short overview program, but most importantly, we got to talk about leadership sustainability. Takes a strong effort. Remember, you got to be essential, you got to be exceptional, and you got to be ethical in everything you do. Find your impact zone, the place where you're going to make a difference. I'm Marv Russell, and welcome to the Impact Zone, the place where you can make a difference. Use 3E leadership each day of your life. Thanks, and have a great day.